Hello, and welcome all to the British Bears Show, coming live at 9 o'clock in the UK. A bit of a weird one because obviously it was a bye week, so there were no Bears games, so we weren't getting any game to review. But obviously, what we're going to do is go through the next opponents, the Washington Commanders. So how are you doing, Jason? We met last night not last night, sounds really weird. Jason coming back from Scotland, and he stopped in Leeds to give us a visit yesterday, man. We had a few beers and that, and it was awesome meeting you in person, Jason, and that. So it was fucking awesome, man. So how are you doing? And how was your bye weekend? Because you were doing quite a few things.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm a little tired after all that driving, but yeah, it's great to meet you for a beer, wasn't it? First time in real life. But yeah, as you said, I took advantage of the bye week and I just did a bit of a drive around the country, meeting some old friends. Shout out to Carl in South Shields, one of my old RAF mates, and then Vicky in near Perth in Scotland. Good to see her. She's been through a lot lately, so it was nice to just catch up. And then to see you weirdo, on the way down in Leeds. Yeah, so crashed in the van, all these places, and just got home this afternoon a bit tired, but it was a really good run. So about 1,000 miles or so driven.
Wow.
And yeah, all good, mate. Yeah, just no Bears game this weekend. So we'll just have a little chat about probably the NFC North maybe, and then, look at next week's game against the Commanders. So, yeah.
The only thing I was worried about last night, Jason, when you were sleeping in the van, because obviously I told you that sometimes it gets used by ladies of the night as like a rubbish area. And I was just thinking, God, I hope nothing happens to his van. I hope nobody I hope nothing weird happens. So I'm glad that nothing did, mate. Anyway,
there were no random taps on the window during the night, as far as I know. Anyway, so that was good. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I mean, it's a lot to talk about with this game coming up against the Washington Commanders. I mean, I suppose the main topic is their quarterback going to be playing due to his rib injuries? They're saying he's pretty sort of. Have they said week by week or day by day? I can't remember what the statement they put out regarding his ribs.
Yeah. Week to week, they said, and I know that I looked at Ian Rappaport, and I saw him a Twitter clip. He was saying that they don't think it's too bad. I think the X-ray was nothing's broken.
Right.
So, but I mean, I've damaged ribs many times, and it's just the soreness. It depends. I think we were chatting last night. If whether he'll play, it's going to be a game time decision, isn't it? They'll probably try and play some games by saying he's questionable or whatever, and whether he trains or not. But I think they want to. From what I read, they're going to try and play it safe. So I think Mariota stepped in, didn't he, at the weekend and didn't do too badly, which we'll talk about. But I think they're going to wait and see how he comes up on pre-game. I expect he'll warm up, he'll suit up and warm up, and then they'll make a decision. But yeah, if it depends how he moves around, And I think it's one of those things that we thought about, wasn't it? When he was drafted, people talked about his build, didn't they? Because he's a real slim Jim. He's a real thin guy.
That's right,
He hasn't got much weight to him, so. Not to say it was going to happen, but it's not a surprise to see. Cause it didn't, you saw it, didn't you? It didn't look too. It wasn't too much of a massive hit. It's like he got tackled and the guy fell on him, and he just obviously just caught him in the wrong place. But I think they'll decide on the day probably. But nothing's broken. But it'll just be about the pain and how he moves and whether he can completely throw in action. He can hit again.
I can imagine as well, like that element of how much impact he could actually take as well. Because that's the thing. I mean, I've been the same. I cracked my ribs, not in an honourable way, in a bar fight. against the Leeds University rugby team. That's all I'll say. And they won, and me and my mate lost. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even start, but anyway, that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't like the sort of narrative at the moment. It's about, Caleb.
Can you see that? Antmas, good to see you, mate. You're always here. He says it's a fake injury. They don't want him to play us. Yeah, absolutely. Ronnie's scared.
Yeah, I like that idea, man. I like that idea. But yeah, I mean, because obviously the narrative is him against Caleb, and because obviously in the first draft. But I mean, I watched the last. Well, I think I watched more or less all the Washington games, just in the condensed sort of version. And he's really good, man. I don't understand why there can't be two good quarterbacks that come out of a draft. I mean, there's always that famous draft of the 80s when like John Elway and Bernie Kosar and all that sort of all came out in that one draft, and it was like supposed to be like the draft, the best draft ever. So I don't really look like who's better, but it would be a shame if he don't play, because I think I do like the sort of spectacle and idea of it, but I know if he does play and he's not 100%, I'm very sort of happy with that as well. It gives us and I don't wish any sort of injury to anybody, because it's like their livelihood, and it's it's pain at the end of the day to an individual. But looking at it from a selfish fan's view, I'm like, I don't mind him having a bit of a knock. It'll sort of put him off a little bit. But I mean, regarding the Washington Commanders, I mean, they're 5-2. I mean, they lost the first game to Tampa Bay, won the next one against the Giants, and then they won the next three against the Bengals, Cardinals, and Cleveland. Lost against the Ravens, and then they won against Carolina. So I mean, even though they lost Daniels, like more or less in the first quarter, they still managed to score a lot of points. And I know it like only Carolina, but so I mean that's something quite sort of means that at least they've not got like a massive drop off totally. When the QB goes down, which usually happens. What are your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, Mariota's a solid pros, and it was the first drive. It was like the very first drive he went down. They got a field goal out of it, but he only completed 2 passing attempts for 6 yards. But it was like I think it was a 46-yard run. He got the injury on, so we know what he's capable of. And you're right, it was no drop off. I mean, they put up 40 points, and again, like everyone says, it was only the Panthers, and I was starting to feel sorry for them, because when they played us a couple of weeks ago, that they got even more injuries, and they're absolutely decimated by injuries. So they're pretty poor at the minute, aren't they? So, but yeah, there was no real drop off. You've got 18 completions of 23 attempts, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and again, no interceptions. They're looking after the ball really well. The way Cliff Kingsbury is running the offense is they're keeping that ball really safe. So that's a real feature of how they play. The other big thing that they did was they ran the ball down their throats, 214 yards on the ground. Maybe that was.
So and that was one of the things what we spoke about last night. We watched the 40-minute playback. It was because I really like their running back. I runs. Yeah, I just think he's Brian Robinson. I think he's got like 396 yards at the moment, 6 TDs. So I like his style. He's quite tall for running back, it seems these days, but. Yeah, he's got a really nice move, and he's got like a really good lean on him as well. So, I mean, with him, if they didn't have Jayden Daniels, they'd be fucked on their running attack, because basically he's got the second most rushing yards with 372. So, like, they'd be absolutely screwed. Like, if he is out for like a period of time and stuff like that. But what have you thought about their sort of offensive scheme? Because you did sort of mention it just beforehand regarding the OC. What are your sort of thoughts? Because when I saw it, I thought it seemed definitely a lot more simpler than the Bears have got Caleb doing. It seems still quite sort of collegiate, and he seems to sort of have been rolling out. So I sort of worry about the reads like one side of the field. So it seems like a simplified thing, and he's working towards the strength of that quarterback. But yeah, I mean, do you think that's somewhat like the defenses around the league are going to figure out and shut down? And it might just be a bit of a bit of an early streak where nobody's had any film tape on him.
Could be a bit like that, yeah. I know. I haven't watched all of their games. I've seen a bit of highlights, and it's. I just watch other sort of podcasters and other pundits, and it does seem like the consensus is that they're not using the whole playbook for him, so they're trying to keep it simple. But they're being effective. You can't deny they're looking after the ball. They're keeping the play simple for him, which is, I think, is why he's not turning the ball over. They've only had 2 interceptions from him all season, so they've basically schemed for him really well, really early. And then the downside of that could be, like you say, once they start getting tape on it, you just shut down his short game. They're not been to really taking the lid off, I don't think, from most things. The 2 longest plays weren't particularly long in their last game against the Panthers. So I think you're right. They're putting on tape some pretty effective stuff, but then if you can scheme against it. But they're very run heavy, aren't they? I think there was 37 rushing plays to 23 passing plays after Jayden Daniels went out. So
do you know what Jason, whereabouts their offensive lines rated in the league? Because I think they got quite a decent offensive line, especially run blocking.
I think they're okay. I don't look at that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm not. I just go by the eye test. I think they're okay, aren't they?
Yeah.
I remember them signing someone quite good in the off season, but I don't really, because a lot of it's just done by PFF, isn't it? And I know people don't put a lot of. It's an indicator, but it's not really kind of. Some people don't put much. It's
not real life somehow. It is a real life, and especially how quickly they can seem to produce all these stats after the game. Always makes me think, how do you do that, man? Nobody can do that. But I mean, what are your thoughts about their wide receiver core? Because I think they've got quite a really good sort of rookie they got this year.
Am
I thinking somebody else?
They got the tight end Ben Sinnott. They got him as a rookie. He got a touchdown last week. Their 2 main weapons on the passing last weekend were Terry McLaurin. Obviously, he's solid number 1. He actually leads. I was just going to save it for a stat bomb, but I won't. He leads the NFL in contested catches, Terry McLaurin, and he's only had 1 drop all season. So he's a solid, really, good, high quality receiver, Terry McLaurin. Everyone knows about him now. He had 6 catches for 98 yards.
And he's got as well. So that's that's productive as well for a wide receiver. Because sometimes you do get them wide receivers who get the yards, but just can't seem to get into that end zone. So that's a good all rounder, mate.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a touchdown this week, but the touchdowns both the passing touchdowns were to the tight ends, and the other one's obviously Zach Ertz, who's a solid veteran now. He's like a top class veteran. He had 4 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown. Their longest passing play was 25 yards, so I don't think they're kind of airing it out too much. That's what I mean. They're kind of playing this straightforward, simple move down the field, and they're just really effective at it. They're really good at what they do. So the record doesn't lie. They're no mugs, but they have, just to go to. I've been looking at the strength of schedule as well, because that's what everyone's been saying. Is the Bears have the easiest one.
So weird, Jason. Now we're literally going to go.
Yeah.
What about the opponents that they've played already? That my next lineup makes great minds think alike. But you give me your opinion about the schedule. The teams have played so far.
Will do. I just want to say hello to Ricky Leahy in the chat, and also J2K's here again. Thanks for joining us, guys. So the strength of schedule for the games played so far, obviously we've had the easiest, and Washington have had the 5th easiest. So it's again but no one seems to be mentioning that. But so they've played the Panthers, the Browns, who are having a terrible season, the Giants and the Cardinals, and then they got absolutely shredded by the Bucks, the Ravens, and the Bengals on their defense. So, but they have the 5th easiest schedule by record. And
I think they definitely caught the teams like the Giants and the Bengals early on when they were really poor, because I know the Bengals have got a lot of talent and they could still pick up, but at the time of the start of the season they were struggling quite bad. But I mean, I can always remember the Ravens. I thought they sort of bullied them quite a bit when they played, and especially their defense. It's just going to be. I suppose it all boils down to is if Jayden Daniels plays. That's basically what this game is. Because I know Mariota, he's no mug, but at the end of the day, it all boils down to if he plays or not. To what sort of game it could be or what it might be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, agreed. But I mean, the Mariota still, I don't know if, he still ran the ball a few times, didn't he? He had 34 yards on the ground, so he's still, he's obviously not the same kind of explosive threat as Jayden Daniels is on the ground, but he can still move pretty well. And he's a solid player. I kind of rate him as a solid backup. There's not many sort of backups that are better than him, I think, really, when you look around the league. But he's a decent quarterback. I think he's had a bit of a rough time, but obviously he's not a donkey, is he? He's pretty good. So again, he had a 132.8 rating in the last game, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So he kept the ball safe, used their scheme well. So he's familiar with their scheme, good solid pro, runs the game well. So I don't. It's almost like you said earlier. It's almost like we'd want to, if they try and make Daniels play and he's a bit banged up and he's then that affects his game when he's psychologically knowing he's got an injury and doesn't want to try and protect himself. It might change the way he plays. So again, they might take that into account when they see whether he'll play or not. But I don't expect much of a drop off, to be honest, if they get Mariota in there, because they're a well-oiled machine, really. They're running quite well. So balanced offense, good running attack, which is a large part of it. Depends on their quarterback in both schemes. But where's my stats? I had it here. They had. Where is he? There. So yeah, Jayden Daniels accounts for 32% of their rushing yards this season so far. So,
but you think that, Jason, teams can learn on to shut them sort of offenses down, because that eventually did happen to Justin Fields, didn't it? To a point last year where they always had a spy in him, or the new basically that was his main threat as a quarterback at some points. So I mean, it's not like it's not doable at all. So especially how the Bears defense are playing at the moment. I mean, I know like we seem to let like the odd sort of long run. We seem to start a bit slow, but and then linebackers are flying all over the place. And if Corden's back as well, he's just been flying in from the nickel, making like tackles in the backfield. So yeah, I think it just all depends, if he plays or not. But I just think we've got a defense that can cope with their scheme. I think they're gonna run the ball a lot. Especially if Mariota's playing. Yeah, I just think our defensive backs as well. I think it depends a lot. If we've got any, the injuries regarding them. Is Briscoe back? Is Gordon going to play? Like is Stevenson's going to play? Because he was out as well, wasn't he, last week? Or at the London game, so he didn't play in that game. So, but I mean, even though like it's quite cool, like sometimes it's not bad when you get like an early bye week. You know what I mean? Because you do start picking up the knocks at this time of year, but it just also felt like we had so much momentum. It just felt sort of, what's such a pity about it stopped, if you know what I mean? Because you could just tell, like, especially on the offensive side, the confidence was just growing every game, and they were just getting so much better every game. Everything was like positive what they were doing, but then again, it gives them time to rest up a bit and watch a bit of film and just have their own lives for a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. But what about their defense? What are your thoughts about Washington's defense?
They're okay. In the last couple of weeks they've picked it up. So I think they're again a bit like our offensive stats, which is a poor start, and the stats now look better because we've had a couple of really good weeks. And I think it's the same thing for their defense. Their backfield was getting shredded, wasn't it? The secondary was ranked really badly, but they're the 17th in points per game allowed, which is at 21.7, and they're also 17th in yards per game allowed at 329. So passing, they're 12th again in defense, rated 12th now, and 18th in the run. They're averaging 131 yards conceded on the ground every game. So 24th in net yards per average for throwing. So passing play, they're basically letting up 6.6 yards, and for every running play, they've given up 4.9, which is ranked 27th in the NFL. Right. So they had a really good game last week, obviously, because the Panthers are terrible, aren't they? So, which is great news for our second round pick, offer from them in the next draft. But when you look at their deal
of the century, man.
Yeah, I know. So in weeks 1 to 6, their defense allowed a QB rating of 117.4, and that's QBR, not passer rating. So that's lower. That's usually lower. So that's a really high QBR. 70% completions and 12 touchdowns and 1 interception they allowed in weeks 1 to 6. So if there's a weakness in their defense, it's probably in the backfield. But again, they've just lost Jonathan Allen, haven't they? They're, all pro, like one of the Super 4 they had before they started dismantling it. Allen is out, so that's going to affect their pass rush. So we can hope, that's going to be a good sign for our offensive line. But yeah, they're not too bad. They're kind of middle of the pack, really, in terms of that.
It sounds that way. That's what I thought as well.
Yeah.
Which and us as well. I think one of the main things that I'm sort of quite interested in is sort of seeing how the offense comes out for the Bears. Like, are they going to come out in huddle, or are they going to do what I want them to do, is go no huddle or like a shallow huddle, just to get that tempo going just for the quarterback? Because he just seems, once he's got that tempo going, as we saw in London, then magical things can happen. But another topic as well, what seems quite interesting, what I like to ask your opinion about, is the Bears' offensive line. Because I think Bates is due to come back. So I was wondering, what would you want the line to be, sort of per position?
Well, actually, I wouldn't. I'm one of those that thinks you don't mess around with it. When they've been improving the last couple of weeks, it's noticeably better since Matt Pryor's been in. Is it Pryor? Yeah, I always think he's a cricketer. Yes. So he's been in there, and so as long as Tevin keeps his performance levels up, because he had a poor start, didn't he? But he's still out there, and he's had a couple of really good games. So I kind of be happy to stay as is. I think you don't want to start. Caleb's, starting to roll with the centre that he's got, and again, I know that some people have got their issues with Coleman Shelton at centre, but he's looked better with two big guys each side of him because he's quite small, isn't he? But I'm one of those that thinks that the offensive line is a really part of the team that works as a unit. It's all five together. It's one of the most important factors is that they work together as a unit, isn't it? And I think they've started to do that much better this last couple of weeks. Again, notwithstanding that the teams have been playing, but I think you've got to let them get momentum, let them get accustomed to each other, get familiar with each other. And I wouldn't be too keen to just swap someone straight in who's not had game reps this season. You don't want to chuck them straight in.
Yeah, because like Bates really has not had any playing time at all, has he? Really, because I can't remember him doing much in the pre-season. I know he missed a lot of training camp as well.
He was rotated in, wasn't he? Early games, he was rotated in. Him at right guard, him and Davis.
Yeah,
they were rotating them through the snaps, and then he picked up an injury and hasn't played for several weeks now. So I wouldn't be really keen to just chuck him straight back in.
No, as well.
Yeah, and I don't think he's not messing around with the centre either. Not now.
No, because obviously they got that connection now, and I think as well. I think Pryor as well, and as the right guard, I think he's a big dude. He's
I agree with Shorty there. Continuity. Sorry, just to go back because Shorty did ask a little question there. Where are you? He said there. He just asked us this question again because we moved on before we got to it. But Shorty said, Chris Jason, do you think Jayden Daniels is legit or just a product of the coaches running more of his college plays?
Sorry, go on, Jason.
But I do think he is legit. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. We saw what he can do now. And undoubtedly, they've schemed it to make him easier for him to transition to the NFL. But I do think he's got all the qualities to be definitely a really good starting quarterback in the NFL. We've seen so far he's had a great start. And then when you just build on that, as you develop, I think, he's come in and played some good ball. So I do think he's the real deal, to be honest. And like you said, it's not a zero-sum game. You can have two great quarterbacks come out in the same draft. Or 2, 3, 4. It's only about the talent that comes through. And I think that was Foster, wasn't it? He is legit down because of exactly that. Now you add design to his top skills. Exactly. Is that you, Foster, adding that response? Yeah, it was. He's nodding. I agree. It's a bit of both, isn't it? So you scheme to suit your rookie quarterback. He's showing what he can do, and then you build it out as you go, which is one way of doing it. And then, or you see which the way the Bears have done it, which is you think your quarterback, Foster. Yeah. Okay, and Foster, not Shorty. Got it. Which what we've done is basically we think our quarterback's smart enough, so we've just thrown everything at him, let him have the whole playbook, let him just do everything at once. And then we struggled early on, but now he's picking it up. He's rolling with it. And I think, there's no right or wrong way, is there, to say, which is the way to do it. So, I mean, you could argue that they've got a one-game better record, so maybe their way is better. But again, it depends on your play style, it depends on your coaching. I'm happy with where we're at now, what we're seeing. And obviously, I think I didn't do any work with this in terms of the stats, but I think if you start knocking off the front game and take our next 6, as we keep doing, if we would do that, keep going through the season doing that, I think we're going to see some really good numbers if it keeps going like it is. So, that's my view.
I've got similar view to yourself, really. I mean, I think he's legit, man. I think as well that's how it should be. It's sort of like what happened with the Bears when they had the players meeting, and like basically, Wojin sort of realised that what he would call he wasn't playing to any of his players' strengths. So basically, they're doing the right thing. It might not be the most complicated, offense ever, but if it works for the kid and they're getting the results, at the end of the day, all you want to do is win. And then like you said, after a while, they're able to expand on that anyway. But and I do think like he could do like beefing up, putting a little bit more muscle on, just to take the impact, because he's very slight. But he's got him, and he's awesome when he's running, and he's got a really good arm on him. And I mean, I don't understand what people want. You want really good quarterbacks in the NFL, don't you? In that better for everybody. Like we can watch better, more better, a large number of good quality NFL quarterbacks. I just don't understand the fucking argument, man. It's just a boring narrative to me. It really is. But we'll sort of focus on the Bears a bit, man. Regarding this game coming up. I know like they've moved up the schedule, so it's like a late afternoon game, which is I heard what you call him, the tight end. He was saying like they're like playing like in the later games because it's like a bit more prime time. Komet that was, sorry, and so that's really cool. So that sounds like we're actually making an impact on the national stage rather than just the Chicago local scene. But yeah, I mean, I think offensively, man, we just got to build on what we did from London. Really, I just think really just start off with a no huddle, just let Caleb get his rhythm going, and then try and get the running game going as well. So that'll take a bit off his shoulders. But they've got to be going to this game with a lot of confidence, from how they played over the last sort of 3 months.
Yeah. You mean 3 weeks? Yeah.
3 weeks, sorry. 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, you meant it's all right. Yeah, exactly. We want to see more of that, don't we? We want. I think you're right about the bye week. There you go. That's what Foster said. Yeah, dollars. That's what it's all about. Money. Get the TV money in. Exactly it. I haven't checked the zone yet to see if it's going to be the blackout game. So we have both have the same situation, don't we? If it's Sky, we have to watch it on our phone. So yeah. If it's a Game Pass, we can watch it on the TV. So we'll see how it goes. I'll check that later. Yeah. I don't think they're going to change it into the televised game, because I think there's some other stuff they've already.
Unless you watch it on Red Zone, you can probably watch. You're able to see bits on Red Zone, but man, it's a bit of a con that just because it's on Sky Sports, that people who stream it can't watch the game, but you're paid to watch that game live as a part of your subscription. It's absolutely ridiculous, man.
Again, it's money, isn't it? It's just when Sky pay all that money for the NFL, they paid for exclusive rights so that no one else can show it live. Otherwise, they've got such power, haven't they? That's the problem. The broadcasters, they own it all. It all goes out. The NFL are desperate for every single penny, so they'll just agree to that. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But we have to put up with it, don't we? So we'll manage. Yeah. But yeah. So but no, I agree that. Again, the bye week has come at that time. It could be useful in terms of our secondary. I think it's a secondary, like you said, there's a few injuries. I'm not confident. Again, I haven't seen any updates. I tried to have a little look about injury updates today, but the first injury reports are out Wednesday, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm really confident about Kyler Gordon's hamstring. The way he left the field, that looked like he was in quite a lot of discomfort there. So I'm fingers crossed it isn't as bad. It's only, but hamstrings, I know I've had them before in sports, and they can be nagging and a real problem, but hopefully Tyreek's calf's okay. Maybe Brisker will get his concussion, but I mean the guys looked okay, didn't they? The replacements played well in London, so we can only hope that maybe one or two of them are back, and we'll see how we go. But any respect for that, it's a good thing. But also you lose the momentum, don't you? Yeah. So. Yeah,
and also as well, it's Caleb's going home. It's where he grew up in that area.
Yeah, definitely.
DC area, so that he's going to have that. Like he's going to have so many like of his family and his friends there. And it'll mean something to him, and I mean, it's just like, can we keep that momentum? It's like it's such a big thing in sport, momentum, isn't it? You can see in games where, especially like in the last Bears game where we started off so poorly on offense, And then suddenly our defense like made a few stops, and then our offense got going, and you could just feel the sort of crossover of the game. But and what are your thoughts about our sort of defense?
Yeah, really pleased. Like I say, the only thing that everyone's a bit disappointed in, because we set such a high standard last season, is our run defense, isn't it? We seem to start slow on both sides of the ball for some reason at the moment, and I think they may change. They talked about it last time, didn't they? The script in the plays, the first 15. But and I think for being so good against the run last year, it's probably everyone's a little bit disappointed that we're not carrying on that good performance. But strangely, our pressure, the pressure they're getting on the quarterback in the passing plays is actually much better. So,
I'm not sorry, Jason. I'm not like, sorry, man, I really didn't cut you off like that. But when a thought comes at the end and you think, if I don't say it now, I'm just going to forget it. And you know what? I forgot it now. Have I forgot it? It's gone. That's terrible. That's a sign of many future illnesses, which I don't want to think about. Okay, we'll come back to me, mate. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but give me a signal if it comes back to you.
Yeah. It'll be a ha moment.
Yeah, exactly. But now our defense, mate. Yeah, we're ranked fourth in the NFL in points per game at 16.8, and everyone knows we've got this 12-game streak.
It's come back. Come back. Do you think like one of the reasons, and I might have mentioned this last week actually, but do you think maybe one of the reasons why we give up the sort of long run is the scheme they're playing? Because obviously they usually only have two linebackers, and then they have the nickel back there. There's really like a mini linebacker. So I'm just wondering if it's just that scheme, because you think about the players, and we've got like Big Coz, Billings, and also we've got Dexter. So it's not like we've got a poor interior defensive line. So I don't know if it's like more like on the sweeps or outside zones again. No, because a few of them have been just right up the gut, haven't they, really? Some of the long runs and stuff. So I don't know if it's like the scheme or whatever, because you can't, you think, well, both defensive tackles are really good. And, is it because we've only got two linebackers on at the start? You know what I mean? Maybe we need Sambo to be on as well.
Yeah, it could be. We do play a lot of nickel, don't we? So we do flex out that base 4-3 quite a bit. So maybe that's a part of it. I don't know. But, you never know. But no, I mean, what I quite find surprising is that we're actually graded better against the pass than we are on the run now, which is basically a nod to how good our secondary is, isn't it? We've been saying about how we're not getting much love, are we, in the media about how good our secondary is, but we actually, in passing yards per game, we rank 7th in the NFL. We're giving up only 180 per game. So, and rushing yards, we're giving up 112, which is 11th. So, yeah. And a rushing yards average per play is 4.6, which again, we'd like to come down, but that's been raised because we've been giving up some of those big hitters, haven't we? Sometimes we give up quite a long play, a big run every now and then. So, what the thing I do find surprising is that the Titans are the number one ranked defense in yards per game. They've got a good defense. Yeah, they have. Yeah, only given up 272 yards per game, and the Bears have given up 292 per game, which is good enough for 5th in the NFL right now. So our defense is top 5. It's the takeaways, second in the NFL in takeaways with 13. So almost 1 in 5 opponent drives ends with a turnover. If ours were 18.6%, I think it is turnover ratio. So our defense is top draw. So hopefully that will show up on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing you can say about Eberflus is that he does know how to call a good defense. You know what I mean? Like he does, and also as well, he does seem to make alterations pretty quickly as well. Which were illustrated at Whitehall on that Sunday, the game you went to. But yeah, I mean, I just feel, I feel like it could be. I know it's going to be a tough game, but I don't feel like. I don't think there's really only been sort of, there haven't been that many teams that I've seen this season I thought would easily just completely kill us. I know Detroit were really good, some of their game and, they're up there in our division and, you know what I mean? And, but I feel like if even if we wouldn't be a little bit behind like we're in London, I feel like with Caleb we could come back and do it. Because he's just so much more consistent than Fields were. But Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting because I'm sure I read something like, I think the Bears have got like the 5th hardest running coming up. Like, we've got these like three sort of small lesser teams, and then we got the divisional teams. No,
we've got the hardest remaining schedule in the NFL.
What, the hardest? What really?
The hardest. Yeah, because now you're comparing it to our division games. I was going to. This is you're stealing. Hang on, let me do it now. Wait there. Now you've done it.
This is.
Right, it's becoming a bit of a cliche, isn't it? That the NFC North is the best division of football, and it damn sure is, isn't it? Right, there's the 4 legit teams now, which is like props to the Vikings for surprising everyone. So the Bears have the hardest remaining schedule in the entire NFL because of our division is playing, and we've got all division games, and the ones that aren't division are other than the 3 we've got coming up, obviously, the Cardinals, the Patriots, and then the Commanders. We've got the Seattle Seahawks, who lead the league in offensive categories, and the 49ers, who, despite obviously they're having a poor season by their standards, they're still pretty damn good, even with their injuries. I know they've got some more bad news, haven't they? Ajax out with MCL and ACL. We've got the hardest schedule, right? So because of it's our division that's causing everyone the problems, Detroit have the 2nd hardest schedule remaining. And then the 4th hardest remaining schedule belongs to Green Bay Packers. So
that's good. That's really good.
This is what could be interesting, though, is that the Vikings have the 14th hardest. So they've got a very average schedule coming up. And the reason being is they've played 2 division games, haven't they? But they've also got to play, the way their schedule's worked out, they've got the 14th hardest schedule because they've still got to play the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Falcons, the Raiders, who are obviously pants, and the Cardinals. So they've got some very winnable games to come. So I
mean, there's no easy game, but that is very favourable, isn't it? Do you know what
exactly.
I mean? That compared to what we know what we've got coming up in the next couple of months. I mean, you know what? Why don't we talk about that, man? What is your sort of hope of? Say we go to like the next sort of 4 or 5. Well, say we go into like as far as like say the 1st or the 2nd divisional game as a block from now. What's your sort of hopes about how many games they might win, or the performance, or what which sort of rival do you think is going to be like the hardest to beat?
Well, I think they're all toughest. I don't know about hardest. They're all, our division is just lethal, isn't it? It's just incredible. So I think they're all going to be equally hard for different reasons. We know that Minnesota defense is absolutely like lights out. They're just awesome. They get pressure everywhere. They're the highest blitzing defense, aren't they, in terms of the amount they bring the heat. The Packers have got a new defensive coordinator and are starting getting it together. And the Lions are, they're legit contenders, aren't they? They are definitely legit. So it's a tough division, and I'm actually really looking forward to it because there should be some great ball games. The next thing I want is that we just don't get beaten at home, especially the 2 games I'm going to, one of which is the Seahawks. But I just want to beat the Packers. I almost I don't want to say nothing else matters, but for God's sake, can we just smash the Packers? Just at least once, just like destroy them.
I were on the Dan and Aldo show last Wednesday on BearsCountryPodcast, and we were talking about what we class as like the Bears moving forward. And first thing I said, well, I ain't bothered about the division. I just want to beat the Packers twice this year. I love it to win the division, but if we just beat the Packers twice a year and then get like around 10 wins, I'm quite a happy chappy at this side of the pond. So I'm just absolutely fed up of them. I'm fed up of the fucking the sort of last 20 years, because when I first got into the Bears in the 80s, we owned the Packers. We absolutely owned them in the mid 80s, man. They were just appalling. So hopefully we can get back into like that 80s mode of dominating the Packers, man. I can't even stand the kit, even though I did quite like the all white kit there. But even the colours, the green, it's sort of like when we wear that whole orange uniform, it sort of makes me like a little bit like, oof, God.
I know you're not a fan of the orange, are you, mate? It's
no, it's just when it's all orange. It's just too much my it's just too much my taste.
Yeah. So no, I just think I'm looking really good forward to it. I think with our defense, if they can keep, injuries permitting, knock on wood, and all that kind of stuff, if we can just keep everyone reasonably healthy, keep performing the way we are, our defense is going to keep us in games. So we're getting takeaways, and that's the main thing. If we can do that, obviously the Packers are doing that as well. They're the team that's above us in terms of takeaways. So that's what I mean. Their defense was always their kind of weak point. Is actually really good this season. So to respond to, is that Shorty? It is Shorty. Yeah, sorry. No, it's not. Is that Foster? For God's sake, you're both using the same login. It's Foster. This is Foster's comment. Yeah. So he says if we win the next 2 games and split the division, beat one of Seattle split the division, beat one.
You can tell it's Foster the grammar.
Lose to San Francisco, and that's 10 wins, which is an improvement. I think if we'd have said 10 wins at the start of the season, we probably would have been happy.
That's why that was my prediction was 10.
Yeah, but in this division, it won't be enough to make the playoffs, will it? It's like crazy. But I mean, the good thing is, like I say, our division is just lighting it up, isn't it? I mean, all of us. So the good news is, of course, that when we start playing division games, we get wins. We're taking games off of our division rivals. So that's when it becomes more interesting. So as long as we're still in it, come the end of the season, when I'm there to watch them, hopefully week 16, 17. Yeah, as long as we're making a game of it is the main thing, isn't it? And that's what we want. We want to be competitive. J2K says he likes our chances against the Packers. He thinks they're the weakest in our division. It'll come down to Warren versus Minnesota Flores and Flus versus Detroit Johnson. Yeah, so you're right. It's the coaching, isn't it? And that's the thing. And there's some really good coaches in there.
I mean, one thing as well, I was just thinking as well, is that we always seem to play Detroit really hard. And we do seem to beat them quite often. I think we lost and then we won, didn't we, last year? I think we won one of the games and then we lost one of them. I'm sure we did. So we do play them hard. I mean, that used to be like just the automatic win, didn't it? Really, in the schedule, the Detroit Lions for so many years, man.
Yeah. Their long-suffering fans have finally got a decent team, haven't they?
Well, they have, man. But it's just to be interesting to see how long it lasts.
Yeah, I agree with J2K here as well. Like 3-3 in the division is okay, but we'd like 4-2 with a sweep of the Packers. Yeah, everyone would be happy with that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, couldn't be great. I just want to beat the Packers, man. I just want to beat the Packers. Yeah, as much as I'm getting into the playoffs, I just think that's like a massive psychological step for the franchise, really. You know what I mean? Because they've just been battering us for so many years, and we've had to put with Aaron Rodgers so many years, and and especially his attitude, in the last game, he crossed the line, man. He said that in front of an old lady, but she did sort of give him the middle finger back in the crowd. It was good to see. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts is sort of, there's a lot of winnable games in this next sort of month, really. After the Washington game, I mean, I expect it. Is it the Patriots we got after Washington?
Cardinals, then the Patriots. Yeah.
I mean, I think they're two are both winnable games.
Definitely. Really. The Cardinals have been inconsistent, though, haven't they? So they've won
sort of cold, don't they? Yeah. So I think they're winnable, and then we're going to get to with the big boys now, and I'm just hoping by the time we get to that sort of period that Caleb's absolutely just rolling, and he's not picked up any injuries, and he's just continuing to improve, and hopefully we don't get any injuries to the wide receivers. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how Allen plays again. Do you know what I mean? Because he had such a good game in London, and coming from the injuries, had what looked like, it were really good. Well, obviously, it has affected him at the start of the season. It's just really interesting to see if he could, what he does, how they use him in the next sort of couple of games, really, using his experience and just how he's probably one of the best route runners in the NFL still, and he knows the game inside out. He's got great hands. But yeah, it's just it's exciting times, mate, to be a Bears fan. I think what I mean. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing podcasts for over 3 seasons, and I can tell you one thing, man. It's hard going when you try to do podcasts and we're losing week in, week out, and also the tanking as well because it's so obvious. I mean I think they played Detroit or Minnesota the last game of one season where we were clearly tanking, and. And it was that bad that the Bears put in like the third string quarterback of the side for like a week beforehand. They even took Peterman out, who were just dreadful anyway, and we got beat. And you just think people have actually paid money to go to that game. Like I know Dan and Aldo went to that game. I'll be thinking that's taking the piss a little bit, mate. You know what I mean? Like you should still try and be competitive as you can for the fans at least. I know the bigger picture and the logic behind you, but just like it's like taking your money, and you'd be like taking your money and like go to see Star Wars, but they've got like no Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker in
it. Interesting analogy, yeah. Yeah, so it's great. Great time to be a Bears fan, isn't it? Just a shame that division, the whole division has decided to get real, just to note just a little another thing about the next game though, about the Commanders. I look at their defense. The other thing about like one of the I said to you before, isn't it? The one I look at from the stats from the previous game is how many passes were defended by the opposition's backfield. Hello. Christopher Callaway Brooks, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, welcome.
Don't need Jayden Daniels to beat the Bears, he says. So is he a Commanders fan in our midst? Or another negative Bears fan? Who knows? Yeah. Anyway,
who knows? Good luck to your brother anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I always look at the number of passes they had defended, because I think that shows how much they're putting the ball in harm's way when they're throwing the ball around. And they last game against the Panthers, they only had one pass defended. So it just goes to show that I say that they're scheming it to keep the ball safe, which is why they're not throwing interceptions. So
yes, I think also at one point that the OC of Washington, he actually got interviewed by the Bears, didn't he? But I think basically just brought him in just to pick his brain about Caleb. I think that's sort of got from the news. But as well, he was a head coach at the Cardinals as well, so it's not like a guy who hasn't got that NFL experience. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It might just sort of, I don't know, going from college, NFL to college and then back again, it might just give him some different sort of ideas compared to what the norm is, for the pros and stuff like that. But it's just going to be fascinating, man. These next, running up to Christmas, basically, it's just going to be fascinating. And it's like every week now, it's sort of, what can happen, rather than you expect. I understand my expectations, they're not going ridiculous. I'm not like Shorty going Super Bowl, man. Do you know what I mean? But like my expectations are getting higher every week, just for them to keep, because you just sort of see it all gelling, and it also as well, it's like a complete team, effort. A lot of the games, it's not just one unit or the other what wins the game. So I'm excited, mate. Really. Yeah,
and you're right. We're performing well on all sides of the ball, aren't we? So that's what's making the difference. It's more of a rounded performance from the whole team rather than just relying on the defense like we were early doors. Caleb's going to get better, isn't he? 6 games in, how much better he's going to get in his NFL career. So, like you say, hopefully, by the time we come to the gauntlet of our division games, it's going to be 3 more games to develop to get used to the NFL defenses, and just be rolling. So the future's bright. But just to talk again, just one more thing to talk about the defense as well, about the Washington for their last game. Looking at their pressure up front, they had 2 sacks against the Panthers, 5 tackles for a loss, and 2 QB hits. So there wasn't a huge amount of pressure up front. I think we got better results there, didn't we, in that respect? But what I did notice was again, watching the passes defended, they had 3 passes defended from 18 attempts. So from 18 passes, they got their hands on 3 of them. So I guess that's worthy of a stat bomb. But I got another one, actually. It could be usful for that.
Hold on, Jason. Did you do that stat bomb or what?
I did not. That was Foster.
So you're not you do it. So it's fucking Foster, did it?
Yeah.
Do the stat bomb.
But anyway, this is another one then. So this one is that their kicker, Austin Seifert, right? He was 4 of 4 for his field goals. So 23, 29, 31, and 49 yards. And obviously, he got all his extra points too in the last game. He's now got, I think it's 73 points in 7 weeks, which is tied in a franchise record for the Commanders for the most points through weeks 1 to 7.
Right.
So that's their kicker. So he's decent. And Shorty says Foster is a pyromaniac.
Foster's a lot of things with similar names to that.
Hey, you leave it. But yeah, so I think that's it. I tried to look for some injuries about the Commanders, but obviously you do a search on that, and every single time, all it's coming up with is Jayden Daniels. But like I said, we know that Jonathan Allen is out, so that's weakened their front, their front four. So maybe it'll give our O-line a bit of an easier day, but we shall see. And they need to play, against quality anyway if we're going to go far into the season.
What we've done and what we have missed, and I know like it's a part of the show that you find a bit awkward. Point prediction, what's your score, mate? What's your score? Who do you reckon could be player of the game for the Bears? Either side of the game.
Player of the game. Right. So I don't do points predictions. This is going to be our toughest test yet, isn't it? I think potentially. Well, Texans, maybe, but Mariota knows how to run the scheme as well. There was no drop off. They obviously lit up the bloody. They scorched the Panthers, which, like I say, you almost feel sorry for the Carolina Panthers now with the injuries they're getting as well. They're just terrible, aren't they? So they're looking good for our second round pick from them. Thank you very much. But I'm always hopeful for a Bears win. I think player of the game. Let me see. I'm going to say that Jalen Johnson is going to have a day against Terry McLaurin. That's what I'm going to say. Because he's their go-to guys, their number one weapon. I say that's my prediction for the player of the game is going to be JJ. I think he's going to shut him down. Maybe get a pick as well. So I'm going to go for that.
Oh man, good call, man. Uh-huh. Yeah, I think my prediction is going to be 24-21 to the Bears.
You think?
I think the Bears are going to win. I think the Bears might able to score more than that if they get into that the vibe as they did in the last game. If they can start dominate. But I think it is a test. But I don't think. I think Washington are getting a bit overblown with the praise really, because basically their story really is the quarterback. Do you know what I mean? Really. So it's just going to be. I'm definitely up for the Bears to win. Because I just like the idea of keeping that momentum going, and I just find that I've said before, I just think that's such a big thing in sport, but it's good for the psyche and the body. But it's just going to be great, and so we'll end the show, man. It's short and sweet this week because obviously we didn't have a game to review, but I'd just like to thank Mr. Shorty, everybody in the chat, Foster for producing, King Foster. Obviously, you, Jason, it was awesome to meet you in person last night, mate. It was a really good laugh, and you're a real cool dude, man. So, we're both predicting the Bears win. So we will return next Tuesday at the same time, 9:00 in merry old England, 3 p.m. Central in America. So, so we'll leave the show with just a big fat bear down. Bear down.
Bear down.